Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am the Omni viewer, and this is a review of Dinosaur Tank, the figure representing a monster from Ultra 7, the first Ultraman sequel, unless you count Ultraman itself as a sequel to Ultra Q, but you know what I mean. This is the Bandai version of him, which is actually pretty cheap. A lot of the Ultraman figures on Amazon are very inexpensive for Bandai figures. And since he just arrived, I figured I would do a little video analyzing him. Detail-wise, this is pretty much what you would expect from Bandai. There's not a lot of detail, honestly, based on the original design. The dinosaur portion of him is very smooth, and the tank portion of him has a bit more mechanical detail to it. The whole thing is pretty much one solid color, sort of a dark grayish brown. And the paint variation mostly applies to the eyes and teeth, which actually it's hard to tell unless you're looking at him dead on, but the teeth are a bit uneven in terms of painting. They're a bit more thick on this side, I guess, than on this side. The paint job makes them look thinner. It's not an eyesore, of course, but if you know it's there, it is noticeable, at least on this figure. And as far as articulation goes, you can turn to the left or to the right, pretty much all the way around, almost. And that's pretty much it. He's also really small as far as Bandai Kaiju figures go, or at least he appears that way. If we put him next to another Kaiju of a similar size, let me back up a little here, you can see this guy is Sibozu right here, and sure, he looks smaller when he's like this, but if you were to stand him on his tail, he actually does have similar dimensions. It's just that Dinosaur Tank is built horizontally, whereas other monsters are built vertically, so I mean, that still keeps him to scale. He is a shorter Kaiju. But for the kind of figure we're looking at, he is relatively small, all things considered. So that's relatively straightforward for a figure review. I don't have much else to say about him in terms of that, but I do actually have a lot to say about Dinosaur Tank himself, because I actually think he is a great example of a kaiju. See, let me explain the brilliance of Dinosaur Tank to you. He is a dinosaur, and he is a tank. There you have it. That's the brilliance of it. The brilliance is in the simplicity. He is a combination of two different things that are really cool on their own, a combination which does not look organic in any way, shape, or form, and yet once they are together, it creates a very iconic image and a very popular monster. Dino Tank has actually appeared in a lot of different Ultraman media outside of his first appearance in Ultra 7. Now, it seems like a fairly simple, yet at the same time fairly ridiculous design, but at the same time it works, and we have to consider the source from which this comes. This was an Eiji Tsuburaya production. Ultra 7 had the involvement of Eiji Tsuburaya and a bunch of people that he handpicked for the job, some of the most creative minds in the entire tokusatsu medium. And, I mean, you want creative-looking kaiju, you go to the Ultra series. There are some really imaginative creatures there. As long as it could be realized by a man in a suit, it seemed like the policy was nothing was off the table, anything goes, in terms of design. And yet, even these incredibly imaginative people occasionally would think something like, hey, what if we put a T-Rex on top of a Panzer? And the result speaks for itself. So why did I bring all of this up? Well, being a kaiju author, I occasionally get asked by people, what goes into making a good original monster? And the answer is honestly that there is no answer. I mean, there's no single answer. You gotta have imagination, but you can take inspiration from just about anything. And you can come up with the most elaborate, bizarre, unique-looking creature out there, but if you come up with something as simple as combining one thing with another thing, that's not a bad idea. It can work really well. So, Dinosaur Tank just might be one of my favorite kaiju, simply because he represents a different idea, a different definition of imagination. Not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with going elaborate with a unique design, but don't let that be your only factor in trying to design something. So let Dinosaur Tank be a bit of an inspiration to you if you're trying to come up with an original kaiju. And let's try to get Dinosaur Tank into the Monsterverse. That is the point of this video. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer signing off. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it as well as subscribe to the channel for more content of a similar nature. Also, check the description for links to our Twitter, DeviantArt, and Patreon pages, as well as the Amazon link for the novel Operation Red Dragon: The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, penned by yours truly. Thank you all, and we appreciate your support.